Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Thursday, August 31st, 2017 edition of VR News. Holy crap, did this week go quick. Lots to talk about, not just today, but this upcoming weekend, of course, is Pax West weekend. And let's just say Saturday, Sunday, as you guys know, typically pretty slow VR news-wise. I expect that to be much ramped up this weekend. Can't wait to talk about that. But for now, let's talk some Facebook. Liz Hamren was hired away from Oculus by Microsoft earlier this year, and you could argue we are seeing the fruits of that effort. There has been a marketing blitz these last 2 weeks from Microsoft regarding their mixed reality, virtual reality platform. Probably the most marketing I have seen since the launch of the main three. And it's no secret, anybody who's watched this channel for a while knows what I feel about the marketing efforts of VR, i.e. a bonobo chimp with cardboard probably could do a better marketing job most of the time, but let's keep it on topic here. Not a bonobo chimp, but a human being hired to fill that position. That human being's name, Rebecca Van Dyck. So she worked at Facebook for 5 years, left in February. My guess would be a sabbatical. They don't really go into the details. She was VP of Consumer and Brand Marketing, served and still does serve on a number of boards, including the New York Times. Well, she posted a fairly long update on her Facebook profile, and in there talks about a t-shirt she received regarding VR when the company first acquired Oculus. And her daughter told her, "Mom, you're not cool enough to wear that shirt." So she ended the post with, "I've come back from our semester abroad energized with perspective and curiosity, and I'm so excited to start this new chapter and to earn the right to wear the shirt." Well, convince me. Please convince me. Convince all of us, because I would love to see a real marketing effort. That would be awesome. Next up, Lenovo, basically continuing the onslaught of Windows mixed reality announcements. This past week, chock full of them. Hadn't heard from Lenovo much though. Well, that changed today. They announced not only the name of their virtual reality kit bundle, which they are calling Lenovo Explorer, but the price as well. So the price for this, $349 US. No firm date, just them saying that it's going to be globally available in the coming weeks. And this next story, a game that always gives me a chuckle when I play it. Sure, it's probably not even in my top 20, but the blood and mayhem can be entertaining. Well, that game, of course, Gorn, and the developer Free Lives announcing that their still in early access game is getting a massive update. Love the name of this update. They're going to call it Badgermancer, tapping into the meme and, of course, their own use of the badger. Now that's going to be a fully incorporated feature of the game. You can see this GIF showing you pretty much everything you need to know about the honey badger. They're also adding local multiplayer, love this, in the form of allowing family or friends to pick up a gamepad and take control of one of the gladiators that you are fighting. Now they can take control to assist you or to help the gladiators take you down. I think that would just be an awesome game to play with buddies. Just a lot of fun. One of those games that would be a fun Mario Kart, Smash Brothers type group experience. Their next update, Free Live states, is going to include a lot of additional weapons. And this next story, I'm not quite sure what to think of this yet. So we have OTOY. They're the company behind a lot of the light field rendering. They've got a blockchain currency called Render Token, and they want to incorporate that into a supercomputer cluster type topography where you can benefit from all these machines working in tandem to do the job of rendering light fields, because that is something that is not just computationally heavy, it's time consuming. I like the idea. The part that I'm stuck on a little bit is the currency portion, because I get the whole aspect. You pay people for their contributions to the supercomputer cluster. Absolutely. But when you've witnessed the havoc that cryptocurrency kind of just in general can have on scarcity, I mean, it was huge, especially with AMD cards. There's a lot of cards that should be on the market that aren't, because they're basically mining right now. And you could argue, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, I guess, unless you're the person who wants to buy an AMD card for gaming, its probably primary use, it's going to be a little difficult. It also impacts the pricing structure considerably. So yeah, not sure where I stand on this right now. I like the idea in principle. I think getting people, just like with SETI, having computers, clustered together to solve computational problems, not a bad idea. Just not so sure what the end ramifications are going to be. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below on that. I've talked about controllers a lot in the past. I had a show specifically dealing with finding the right controller for the right task. I think that's so important in virtual reality because it helps with immersion like crazy. And the best example I usually give for that is playing a flight simulator or a space game like Elite Dangerous with a HOTAS setup. There's nothing quite like it, especially for me with Elite Dangerous, because your HOTAS matches the in-game controls that your avatar is using. You're even sitting like your in-game avatar. End result, it just shoots the immersion right through the roof. It's awesome. Well, these guys, VTOL VR, doing things a little bit different. What they're doing is they're emulating HOTAS via motion-tracked controllers. So VTOL VR, the company, and their flight simulator, using VR motion-tracked controllers rather than opting for HOTAS. And the game itself, let's talk about that first. It is a combat flight simulator, takes place in the near future. The devs saying that gives them a lot of creative freedom because there's no real date you can pin on it. It's not now, it's somewhere in the future. But back to the controllers. The two advantages that I can see over HOTAS, I guess the first one would be the ability to be flexible. And I think most people would agree that it's probably not better than HOTAS for the actual HOTAS controls in the game, but it does allow the player to interact with secondary cockpit functions in a way more realistic way. That, in a game like Elite Dangerous, admittedly a little more awkward. So for me, most things are mapped via HOTAS, the non-critical stuff through voice, but there are a couple of things I still rely on the keyboard for. The idea here is they do all of that with the motion controllers. So that, and then secondly, your actual manipulation of those controls could actually enhance the immersion. So it's a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, depending on how you look at this. I think in terms of the pure HOTAS experience, I think I'd still prefer that. I like to have the tactile feel of what I'm doing match the in-game, but I absolutely get how flexible the system is. And I'm gonna withhold final judgment till I get an opportunity to try this. I gotta admit, it's piqued my interest, even if I'm not convinced it's the way to go yet. The programmer behind this game is Paulo Encarnacion. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right, probably butchering it. But if you haven't heard of him as a programmer, he was one of the programmers on Kerbal Space Project. Another title was BD Armory. So you may know him from those games. Either way, he's working on this, and yeah, it's got my interest piqued enough that I at least want to try it, see how it feels, see what it does for immersion versus a pure HOTAS setup. All right, guys, that is it for this Thursday edition. As always, cheers, guys.